Hello, we have gone live. Welcome everybody to the very first live Q&A session here on the Facebook NZHSP New Zealand Health and Safety Professionals group. I'm just going to get rid of my keys. I'm just going to dust myself off. Okay, so I'm just going to give us a little bit of a moment for people to log in and to jump on to this live call. I'm going to spend a little bit of time introducing what this is all about, what I'm trying to achieve. And then we're going to delve into my top tips when it comes to setting up a health and safety consultancy. This is really just to celebrate a couple of big announcements that I'm going to talk about in the foreseeable. Yeah, just for now, it's just letting you guys find your space, getting comfortable, maybe turning off your notifications for a little bit. I'm just going to grab a sip of water. Welcome, everybody. You can actually communicate with me. So in the comments that is just underneath this live feed here on Facebook, you can put in your comments. You can either submit those anonymously, and that's all good. Or if you would like your name and your face to pop up on the screen just beneath me, and I can speak to your comments, you can just allow that little thing. Hey, Facebook user, well done for being the first to comment. It's great to have you on board. Hey, if anyone is tuning in live, hello, let us know where you're coming in from as well. Are you in New Zealand? Whereabouts in New Zealand? Are you one of our international members? Let us know where you're streaming in from, and I'll give you a hello. Okay, so this is super exciting. We've got a first. Hello, first Facebook user. And we've also got a second Facebook user. So congratulations for being the first and second people to comment on this live stream. So guys, this is the very first live feed that we've done on the NZHSP group for quite some time. I used to do these quite a bit, particularly during the COVID lockdown months when things were just a bit weird, and I think we were all looking for a bit of connection. And I guess that brings us right back to, we've got someone in Nelson. G'day, Nelson. Hope it's nice and sunny your way. And yes, you have started something. So well done you. So if anyone's tuning in now wondering what the heck's going on, just follow the comments. You'll see what's going down. Yeah, so this all kind of, the live feeds in particular on the NZHSP group really came from the COVID lockdown period. NZHSP, the New Zealand Health and Safety Professionals, came about from me having a bit of a think back in late 2016 and deciding to do something about it in early 2017. I was just forming my new business. I just left a full-time role, a really well-paid role with lots of authority. And basically, I was one report below the CEO of a state-owned enterprise. And by all accounts, I should have stayed there for many years to go. But I was really unhappy, and my mental health was suffering. I'd achieved what I wanted to at that state-owned enterprise, refreshed their health and safety management system, rejigged their health and safety committee system, managed to get them over the line with ACC, WSMP accreditation, and all that kind of good stuff. But I was miserable, and so I left, and I ended up establishing my own health and safety consultancy. And during that period, I did a bit of deep reflections as to what I felt was working well in the broader health and safety profession. And also, cool, I'm just going to add some of these. And also what was not working so well within the broader health and safety profession. Oh my gosh, it's sunny in Auckland? Seriously? That's insane. Yeah, Chicha, it is getting windy. It looks like there is a southerly about to kick in. Hello, Christchurch. Lots of Christchurch. Nice. Nice. Yeah. You guys also touchy-feely. And so one of those things that I was reflecting on during this transition stage in my career was my sense, at least, of a lack of accessible community in the health space. I was really missing the ability to reach out, ask questions, spend time with people. I would go to the training sessions that were being provided by our institutes, and I would go to the conferences. But what I was finding was that there wasn't much opportunity to talk openly, and there wasn't much networking opportunities being provided to us. And so I launched the New Zealand Health and Safety Professionals initially on LinkedIn as a private group. Within 12 weeks, we had over 300 members. And as time's gone on, we've now expanded into Facebook. And we've now got over 3,500 members between the two social groups. Mental, especially when considering it's free, and especially considering it has been driven by you guys, and also by the amazing support of the likes of Jen Dransfield, and also by the likes of Melissa Dunstan down in Queenstown. There's other volunteers and people in the background who are just amazing supporters of this amazing thing that we have created. So that's a little bit of a summary of where NZHSP came from. Since then, we've done real live conferences. We had a full-day conference here in Christchurch back in 2018, online conference the following year, moving into COVID, and then over the last couple of years, it's been a little bit quiet. I've been basically focusing on my business and where we're headed. But now I've got the bandwidth to finally start pushing more energy and more value back to you guys. So over the last little while, those of you who've been watching closely, we've established the NZHSP News Hub service, which is a WhatsApp group. Basically, it's one-way communication. I'm just posting lots of interesting news articles that I think are relevant to us, and you're getting that straight through to your phone. So you can find that in the announcements at the top of this Facebook group. You can find the link to that and join that. That's a free service, keeps you up to date with all the latest news and gossip. For those of you jumping on board now, feel free to say hello in the comment section just below this live feed, and I'll make sure to say hello back to you. And so what else is going on? I did say at the very beginning of this talk that I was going to speak to my top tips when it comes to setting up a consultancy, but I also hinted that there might be a couple of big announcements for you guys as well. So the first of the two big announcements is that the Health and Safety Unplugged podcast, which I used to do on the radio station here in Canterbury on Plains FM. I used to do a monthly radio show before COVID. Hello, Northland. How are you today? Let us know in the chats. And again, it was all geared towards health and safety. And then COVID hit, and that put a spanner in the works. I took the radio show and took it onto social and started doing live feeds here in the NZHSP group. And as we got, oh, hello from Joy. Hey, Joy. Lovely to have you on the call. And yeah, so I took it to the social platform, and now it's been rejigged, and I've got a brand new studio, professional studio here in Canterbury, and I am interviewing some amazing minds, some amazing thought leaders in business leadership, executive leadership, in health and safety management, and also in other spaces such as public speaking, workshop, presenting skills, what makes a great communicator, all the way through to the thought leaders in IT, and in particularly in things such as AI and the whole mind-blowing space that is. And so as time goes on, I'm going to be interviewing subject matter experts in a broad field of areas. The reason why I'm doing this is to provide you guys with as much value as I possibly can, because these are the insights that we need in order to win the hearts and minds of the key decision makers with the businesses and the organizations that we're engaging with on a regular basis, right? The call to action, why I do all of this, is because we are currently experiencing a shortfall of an estimated 2,000 health and safety practitioners in New Zealand currently. That's a massive gap, and we've got a huge amount of work still to do, particularly when we still look at the stats. We're still on average killing just under 2 workers per week on average here in New Zealand. Okay, so the stats are grim. I think our institutes and the regulator are doing what they can with the resources that they have available, but it's going to be all of us as a collective who are going to have to think outside the box to help try and turn this tide, and hence why we're doing this. So with all that said and done, today I wanted to talk about some of my top tips that I suggest to people all the time, actually, when it comes to setting up health and safety consultancies. So it won't come as a surprise to many of you that I deal with this kind of topic and this conversation quite frequently. So Advanced Safety, we were the first and only consultancy to franchise our business model. So I'm supporting our franchisees in developing their business plans and helping them to manage and navigate what it means to set up a successful business. And as a result of that, I also quite frequently have conversations with you guys about the same types of things. Like I'm thinking about setting up a consultancy. How do I do this? What do I start with? What are some of the things that I need to think about? Other times people reach out and use me as a bit of a soundboard, and that's all cool too. So what I've done is I've just tried to think about the top 2 or 3 things that I routinely speak to, which I'm now going to share with you guys here on this live call, if that's useful to you. So before I do and delve into that, can you just let me know in the comments, is this useful to you? Is this the topic that you would like me to talk about today? And if so, let me know in the comments and then I will crack into it. Cool. I can see someone's come up and said, yep, guilty. Yep. The number of conversations I've had on this particular topic, particularly in the last 3 or 4 weeks, has been phenomenal. And so I am just trying to boil down all of the topics, all of those discussions that I've been having and providing them to you today, because I'm nice and I'm trying to answer that call of the shortfall of 2,000 health and safety professionals here in New Zealand, right? It's nuts. So in order to meet that shortfall, it's going to require more consultants. It's going to require more skilled business leaders. It's going to require people who are able to communicate and win the hearts and minds of those key decision makers at the board table, right? And so this is all about sharpening the saw, getting better skills, getting more confident in ourselves to meet that challenge. So my top tips. Well, one is got to start off with the actual decision about moving into private practice, right? So I speak to a lot of people who are thinking about moving into private practice, may actually be considering jumping into one of our franchise opportunities. And one of the key blocks, or one of the key things that stops people from moving into that space, is around the perception of risk. It's high risk. I'm going to set up my own business. Where is my revenue stream going to come from? I've got mortgages to worry about. I've got to feed the family. If this fails, what's that going to mean for me? You know, everyone's going to judge me, rah, rah, rah. And it's like, okay, cool, calm the farm. I often go back to this initial risk assessment, right? Which is, what is the greater risk? Is the risk to continue doing what you're already doing day in, day out, and repeating the same experience that you've had with your current employer year after year, working for other people year after year, experiencing those common pain points that we often experience working for other companies, whether that's not getting the things that you know will make all the difference over the line, and just basically spending a lot of time completing reports that, you know, many people don't even bother to read, on one hand, or the risk of letting that go and moving into your own private practice where you can create your own destiny. I know it sounds a bit woo-woo, but it's true. Where you can create your own perfect day over time, as long as you're prepared to put the work in. Then I would argue the risk starts to tilt towards in favor of moving into your own private practice. That, plus the knowledge that there is a huge shortfall of health and safety practitioners in New Zealand, that plus the fact that businesses right now are tightening their belts and starting to look to see where they can trim what they consider to be the fat out of the organizations. And unfortunately, health and safety is still deemed as a bit of a nice to have. Then again, the risk weighting starts to move, I believe, in favor of moving into private practice. Now, I'm not suggesting pack up your bags, hand in your notice today, but perhaps start to think about looking into this in more detail and thinking in more depth about, and maybe this is something that I can do, because your skills are in high demand. And it's, in my mind, it's just a crazy opportunity that's out there. So that is often a conversation that I start to have with people when they're thinking about moving into private practice. Is actually, I feel there's a greater risk of hanging on or continuing full-time employment with an organization that may not necessarily value your skills and may actually be questioning their resource allocation currently. It's just food for thought, but that's my thoughts on it. Then once we get past that consideration, that thought piece, the top tips that I've got for people who are either thinking about maybe moving into private practice, maybe doing it as a bit of a side hustle or a bit of a side gig, are considering identifying who are your ideal clients, right? So thinking back through your experience in health and safety, where have been some of your big wins? Where have been some of your greatest achievements, successes, those moments that you feel most proud about? Where do you feel most comfortable working? Like what industry, what space are you, that's your sweet spot where you most enjoy engaging with people. Now, it might be with small businesses. It might be when you're on construction sites working with the tradespeople or those the sole trades, or it may be engaging with the main contractors, whether they are tier 1 or tier 2 type businesses. It'd be interesting in the comments if this familiar space for you guys, or maybe listing an industry where you're like, yep, that's my sweet spot, and then I can speak to that and I can add some more value to the guys that you all that are on the live call right now. So maybe have a think about what are your ideal customers, what are your ideal industries, what's your sweet spot. Flick it in the comments and I'll speak to that. But the reason why it's important to think about this whilst I wait for you guys to put your comments in is by identifying your key customer will then help you to steer your marketing and the way in which you communicate to social media. If you can steer your language and the way in which you present yourself towards a particular industry, you're far more likely to resonate with the key decision makers that are looking for help right now. So we've got we've got government, education, construction, manufacturing. Nice. We've got systems, processes, ISO, wicked. The great thing about ISO right now is that big businesses finally waking up to the relevance of ISO and are now starting to ask about it. So that's a great place to be. The sweet spot is in aviation. Nice. Again, these are all really useful niches, and within these particular items, which I'm just going to re-highlight, there are niches within niches. It's really honing it down into exactly who your ideal client is. Do you find you can communicate with men or women easier? Do you find that you can communicate with the CEO or the executive easier than you can with middle managers? All those little niches, all those little micro details all add up, and it allows you to then create copy or text in your social media posts, in your advertising, in your brochures, perhaps eventually onto your website, which will resonate with your ideal customer, so that you begin the process of generating leads and inquiries. And it also means that you're cutting out all of the noise, all of those types of businesses that you may not necessarily want to work with. I learned the hard way, right? So when I first started Advanced Safety, I had no real plan. There is a bit of a longer version of the story than I gave earlier on, and I speak to that in something I'm about to talk about in a moment. But I learnt the hard way. So basically, I made a common mistake that most consultants make, which is take any business that comes, especially in the early days. Now, that kind of financially makes sense, right? Why would you turn down business? The learning was, by accepting business from all directions and all industries, I spread myself out too thin, and I was working with companies that I didn't really want to be working with. They didn't really respect or value what I was tabling. They certainly didn't respect the prices that I was tabling. And when it came to paying, they were extremely late in paying because they just didn't value anything that I was doing. It wasn't until I did this piece of homework, identifying my ideal client, the industry, all the way down to the name of the business owner or that particular person that I like dealing with within that industry, was when things really started to come together, and when I was confident enough to actually charge what I was truly worth. And as a direct result, I also found that my invoices and my bills were getting paid on time, and sometimes before the dates that they were due. So it's a really key piece of advice that I recommend anyone who is in consulting or thinking about moving into consulting, is to really hone in and refine on who your ideal audience is. My next piece of advice goes hand in hand with the first piece of advice, and this is identifying the networks and where your ideal customer hangs out. Now, LinkedIn remains one of my most favorite spots when it comes to engaging with my ideal customers, because that's where most business leaders, senior managers, tend to hang out. And so I've spent time researching where my ideal customers hang out. What groups are they involved in? What conversations are they engaging in? What are the types of news items and articles which are resonating with them? I then read those and think about, okay, how do I turn that into something that is relevant to what service I provide? And so for anyone tuning in, I recommend piggybacking off of me, right? Jump onto LinkedIn. If you're not following me already, flick me a follow, jump on my profile and have a look at the posts and content that I've done over the last month. And you'll start to see there is a bit of a tangent between how I'm posting and how I'm communicating and the types of ideal customers that I've got. I love working in construction. I love working with project management companies of kind of at the enterprise scale, so nationwide, probably turning over 20 mil plus a year as a minimum. And you'll see the language and the content that I'm putting out is speaking to those types of audiences. So the CEOs and the GMs of those types of businesses. Feel free to borrow. It's all good, because as I said before, there is a shortfall of us. Okay, so I'm just trying to help plug that gap and to try and turn the tide of preventable injuries and fatalities here in New Zealand. So first tip is to really refine and hone in on who your ideal customer would be. Second tip is to figure out where they hang out, what groups are they part of, what conversations are they engaging with, what types of articles are they reading. Hey buddy, thank you. That's my youngest. And engage with it. So flick a comment, flick a like, get involved in the conversation. Don't make the mistake of being overtly salesy, particularly at that front end, okay? Because I talk about this in something I'm about to talk about in a moment, but it's a bit like on the first date, getting down on one knee and proposing to that person that you've just met and perhaps just bought your first drink with. I see it all the time on social media. It's really ick, and you really want to avoid that. So by engaging and becoming part of the conversation, is so much more natural, and over time they'll get to know you and they'll start to look at your profile, and eventually when they are ready they will reach out to you. So there's loads of golden nuggets here, right? So I'm just trying to give you as much value as I can, because these are some of the hard learned tips that I can provide you all. Okay, and then the last bit of advice that I have in this space, whilst I've got you on this call, is be prepared to work your butts off. Okay, so there are no shortcuts in running your own business, whether it's a side gig or a side hustle, or whether you're going both feet in. It's long hours, and it's you're probably going to kiss goodbye to your weekends for a while, and public holidays especially, probably for the first year or so. There is no way of bypassing that, despite all of the gurus that you might see on YouTube and on all the social media adverts that are telling you that they've got the latest secret to getting you to your top, to your first $1 million. It's all nonsense. It is hard work, and you have to be prepared to work your butts off. But by putting in the effort at the front end, identifying your ideal client, identifying where they hang out, getting involved in their conversation and engaging with them, making your content relevant to them so it's going to resonate and actually add value to the conversations that are already happening, you'll start to find that they will begin to reach out to you. And when you might slide in a sneaky DM to just simply say, hey, I really liked that post that you put up yesterday, you're going to find that you're going to be far more likely to succeed and to actually win some contracts and some really good quality work moving forward. So I keep alluding to the fact that there's something going on in the background that I want to share with you. So the first thing I've shared with you is that we're bringing back the Health and Safety Unplugged podcast that is going to be becoming available to all of you within the next couple of weeks. The final tweaks and edits of the first episode is taking place as I speak, and I cannot wait to share it with you. I'm interviewing a wonderful woman called Di Foster, who is a executive coach to some of the most influential and successful CEOs here in New Zealand and overseas. She's got an incredible backstory, and in this interview we go really deep on how to win hearts and minds at the C-suite and the executive board level. So keep your eyes peeled for announcements about that. I'm so excited for that to go live and available to you all. And the second thing is I have finally got around to refreshing and updating the Built to Last ebook, which I published, gosh, year and a half ago. I went back, I've gone through it with a fine tooth comb. I've brought it up to speed with where we're at currently in 2023. And I'm about to republish that. Now, for you guys who are live on this call, I'm actually going to invite you all to get early access to it. So I've shared it with a couple of people just to get some feedback, and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. Everyone's absolutely loved the ebook. The ebook goes into a lot of detail with some of the tips that I've shared today, but also a whole heap more information. And it's basically designed to help people who are thinking about moving into private practice or already in private practice to sharpen the skills and to avoid a lot of the trappings and pitfalls that I fell into when I set up my business. So for any of you who are tuning in live or catch this over the next couple of days, all you have to do is get a direct message here on the NZHSP Facebook group with the very best email address for me to send it to. I'll send it directly to your inbox as soon as I am able. But yeah, I'm really excited to share it. It's for 60 pages long, something like that. And it's got all of my best advice for those of you who are either already in consulting or are thinking about moving into private practice. So yeah, so that's the first live feed. That's the first kind of Q&A session. I know it's probably a little bit more of me talking and not so much Q&A, but I just wanted to give you at the front end as much value as I possibly could. It's been a lot of stuff going on in the back end, lots of conversations that I've been having with a lot of people in recent times, and I thought, wow, there's common themes coming out of this all over the show. I'm going to bundle it all together. I'm going to throw it at you. And see where we go. All right, cool. We've got some Q&A. All right, cool. I think the idea of charging the right amount is a hard thing to get your head around. Yes, right. This is a really one of the key questions to navigate. It's one of the questions that I help answer in the ebook plug. But whilst I'm here, there's a couple of things that come straight to mind. One is, what is our relationship with money? Okay, now this seems a bit like, what are you talking about? When we think about money and when we think about our comfort level with money, we've got to identify where is our point. So if I was to say to any of you that are tuning in right now, if you had $1,000 in your bank account right now, how does that make you feel? If you had $10,000 in your bank account, how does that make you feel? If you had $100,000 in your bank account right now, how does that make you feel? And we go up and up and up until we identify that I don't feel comfortable with that amount of money point. By asking ourselves that question and identifying where our ick point is, it helps us to then unpick, why am I feeling ick at that point? Now, when I first started my consultancy, like going back in early 2016, I was charging less than $100 an hour. I was charging a few $100s for a brand new health and safety management system in some cases, because I talked myself out of asking for anything more. And now, knowing what I know now, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I was doing so much and for so little. And often I was still chasing people to pay the stupid small amounts of money that I was charging. And it was all because of, I hadn't identified my ideal customer. And secondly, I hadn't identified my money blocks, and I hadn't worked through what my issues were when it came to money. What is my relationship with money? What do I think when I talk about money? Is it a positive thing? Is it a whoa, money, amazing? freedom, abundance, or is it money, yuck, bleh, don't want to talk about that, I just want to try and save lives? Now, if it's the latter, you need to unpick that. You need to figure out where those money blocks are coming from before you even start thinking about putting pricing to the content and the material that you're putting out. In terms of pricing and materials, it's a bit of an interesting space, right? Especially now with AI and ChatGPT suddenly coming up onto the scenes. The value of documentation, policies, and procedures is like there's a little bit of a question mark around there. It comes to your time in the game, your experience. What value can you bring to that business? Can you save them time by doing what it is you're doing? I would suggest you're probably saving them weeks, if not months, of wasted time. Can you help to implement and embed that? Again, the policy, the health and safety manual is only as valuable as how successful it has been embedded. And so that is where the value comes from, is how well can you communicate this change to the business? How well can you engage and bring all of the key stakeholders into a room to get them involved in this piece of work? And how well can you then embed it and be able to demonstrate that to the organization? That's where the value is. And that's where you should then start thinking about, okay, how much money, how much time am I saving the business? And then boil that down into your pricing point. When you start thinking about that, that's when you start getting into the true value and the true hourly rates and the true project value. I still feel as an industry, we are horribly undercharging ourselves, particularly when I look over the wall towards lawyers and solicitors in that space where they're charging massive hourly rates. I actually would feel that many times we're actually possibly providing more value than what those guys are doing over that side of the ditch. It's possibly a conversation for another day, but it's just something for you to stop and have a think about. I cover this in detail in the ebook. So if you want to get your hands on the ebook, flick me a DM and here on Facebook with your best email address, and I'll flick it through to you as soon as I can. Whilst we're here, I'm going to give you guys a couple more minutes. Anyone else got any questions, thoughts, ideas? I'll definitely come back to the charging thing at another live call. This is going to be a fortnightly thing, so every other Tuesday from 2 p.m. For about 30 minutes, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to throw questions and answers my way. I'll be talking to interesting news items or current events or things that I've been talking about regularly. Any other questions before I let you guys get back to your busy days? Okay, maybe final question for you before I head away is this of value? Would you like me to continue doing this? If so, let me know in the comments. You'll see me back here on the live Q&A sessions on a fortnightly basis. Cool. All right, team. I can tell you're probably... Oh, okay, hold on. I've declined some work that would be simple, boring, to keep some space for more valuable work to maybe come. Super brave and super duper awesome. Okay, I love the fact that you've said that, so thank you. I'm sorry I can't see your name on this do-wacky that I've got going, but I love this comment. The power of saying no. So this is something that I did in a huge amount this time last year. High risk at the time, right? So I started saying no to accepted work. I started saying no to project work, which I was even very near completing. And I turned around to clients and possible clients and said no, because there was a values disconnect. I was not enjoying the work that I was doing. There was a really bad case of scope creep for one of the customers, where they kept coming back and asking for more and just making me feel like crap. And I felt that if something was to go wrong with that place of work, if there was an incident, that I would be the fool guy. They would have pushed me under the bus. And so before any of that went any further, I just basically politely declined to do any further work with them. At the same time, I started saying no to successful RFPs that I'd put in place, other proposals that I'd sent out that had been accepted. I politely declined, even at that late stage, because I did a real deep dive into what it was I wanted to do as a consultant. And it did. It opened up doors to other work. I'm now at capacity. I actually physically cannot take any more work on until January 2024. I couldn't have done that unless I closed the doors to those other businesses. Now I'm working with clients that value my time, and I love working with. So thank you for saying that. It's such a great comment, and all power to you. Cool. Comments? Yes, please. I'm sure I'll have questions next time. Yeah, cool. I mean, that's the cool thing, right? This is going to be a fortnightly regular thing now. So you can fire your questions either during the call, offline. You can flick me a DM at any time and I can add that to the content. Cool. You're welcome. Awesome. Thank you. I will add it to the agenda. So there you go. So yeah, this is going to be a regular thing. You can tap into me at any time, flick your questions through either on the live call or in between, and I'll do my best to answer them. It's like having your friendly health and safety dude on tap, which is what it's all about, right? So anyway, have a wonderful rest of the day. Have an amazing week ahead, guys, and I will see you on the next live call in 2 weeks' time. So until then, take care, all the very best, stay strong, and I'll speak soon. Okay, take care, everybody. See you. Yes, actually, thanks. This is a nice office. This is my my bedroom. Thank you very much for noticing. Cool, you're welcome. Thank you. Last one, then I'm going to go. You're welcome. Cool, take care. All right, see you, team. See you.